Here we go. Record.
We're going organically. I'm gonna
Okay,
go
so
back with the head in the flower.
She's underneath the trees, in a hammock as usual, and she was in a hammock the very first time. See, you can't see her, but we can hear her, and she's got a hibiscus flower. And where are you, honey? Where are you? We can't see you. There you are.
I'm in Costa Rica, Puerto Viejo de Talamanca. It's on the Caribbean side.
Okay, yes, I've been on that side too. I was I forget what the village was called, but it had a place called Miss Edie's Fish Restaurant.
Oh,
it started with
Kawita?
No, it's a popular one. You get off on the train from the Pacific to the Atlantic, and it's a Rastafarian community.
Yeah, Puerto Viejo.
I don't know.
Unless you were in Bree, Kawita. How long ago were you here?
Oh God, 89 and 90.
Okay, so Kawita was the town before Puerto Viejo became the town. So if it's not Kawita, I don't know where it would be.
That doesn't ring a bell. Puerto Viejo does, but I don't think that's the name of the town either. It was really small, and you know what was so cool? There was a little boy who was in the water all the time on the beach there, on the black sand beach.
Yes.
And his hair was woven, right? And he was blonde, and he had some Caribbean, genetics as well. So so apparently there was a person from Sweden there. I don't know. It was very funky, but I remember that so much. And I remember Miss Edie's Fish Restaurant.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to figure out what that was, because it doesn't sound familiar with what you're saying. But anyway, tell me what's going on with you.
Oh, goodness. So much. First, I really would like to acknowledge your transcending bullying video that I did watch in its entirety, and I thought it was a beautiful amalgamation of different snippets of information I'd gotten over the past few days, and I love the way you're sharing, and
Thank you.
Yeah, I really
you know what? YouTube has since taken it down. This is my first YouTube video that they took down. They took it off of down. Well, I guess. Do you know what they cited?
That means you hit some points. What did they cite?
So they cited that it didn't meet community standards for medical information. So all that stuff I shared at the end with, if you did your research, this is what you would find. That's what they're claiming violated their community standards. It was medical info.
So is it just a matter then of stating that this is not to replace medical professional?
Oh, what a good idea.
Like a disclaimer. I watched, I'll forward you a video I saw, but another sister said in her video, she mentioned something along that, like, this is not legal advice or to replace it. This is just information that you can also find in your own research.
What a kind of something idea. Like that.
Yeah. Because this is not medical advice. And
so of course I appealed it, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote that, they were in violation of the Constitution, the Charter of Rights, and in violation of the Magna Carta and the Nuremberg Code and human rights. And that, so, I just did my warrior thing.
And did you get a response yet?
No, but you know what? just being able to voice and get it out of me in that
Yeah.
way is enough for me. If they decide they don't want to, that responding back to the appeal was more for me,
Okay.
and it served my purpose there. But I like your idea of like writing a disclaimer on the video, or maybe adding to it or something, or re-recording it. Yeah, so thank you
Yeah.
for that, sister woman. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Well, I really feel it's important for, people to hear that message and also have that consideration, and just what I really heard also in what I liked about your share was it really felt like a very sincere heart to heart that you would just have with any friend. Like, here's the information that I've acquired, and this is how I'm feeling, and and you kept emotions, it was just very factual, and it was very, very well delivered, so
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I've been working on my shit, to get it to that point where I'm not cascading with anger or whatever onto people. It's more about owning my own shit in it. And that was a way to own it, to also
Yeah.
express what I need, because I'm not doing that in my
Yes.
exchanges, because nobody wants to hear what I need. They're too afraid.
So interesting. So I've been studying how we the power of our words and how we cast spells. So even in how you just said that, what I heard as a um possible, what's the word, a, adjustment or new consideration is that perhaps in ways that you expressed or had lack of expressions, people were unable to hear. And now what's showing up around is receptivity to people hearing, and maybe even anticipating your needs and meeting you with open arms and heart and joy, to help
Which is
you
what
or
you're
to
doing.
provide.
You're providing me with what it is, baby. That's synchronicity. You're providing
Gosh.
it right now in this moment. And also, there's one extra step that I think about too.
Yes.
Maybe if people aren't hearing my needs, I'm not listening to myself in what I need. So it goes back to me and my
Yes.
responsibility, right? Like maybe I'm
Yes.
not hearing myself, and maybe I'm not communicating it because I'm not hearing myself, right? So
Yes.
yeah,
I hear your willingness to be extremely accountable
yeah,
for that. And I believe it's also important to create it out in our environment, so that way we just simply walk into it easily. I mean, all of the context is how we create it, right?
yes. That's
Also,
a
because
that's
you're
a
already looking for your your fine tunement, and you're doing your work. So also ensuring that it's not just like you have to do it alone. It's also like, oh, this is what I'm looking for, this ease and flow. And in the tail of your signature in your emails, you have the way is
out.
through.
The
the,
way
the
out
way
is
out
through.
is through, right?
Yeah.
And so I just actually read someone's affirmation on their Telegram page for an affirmation of today. And I think you can still hear me.
Yep.
You might just lose video for a second, but I want to recreate it. Am I correct? You can still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so it says, only that which or slash those who uplift me are welcome in my space. I'm taking an indefinite break from everything and everyone else as I embark on my sacred ascension journey. This is not me being selfish, but me perhaps for the very first time being focused on what my higher self needs me to be focused on. This is what I came here to do. This is my divine service to myself and to humanity. May it be so for the highest good of all, and so it is. And so,
Wow.
yes, and so what came up for me as I was contemplating, I was in resistance to having a conversation about an hour prior to our call, and Spirit sent me numerology that I was walking in the wrong direction, and I'm like, okay, I need to go and see if there's space for the conversation now, or just return to the space. And when um, when I arrived, it was not the aligned time. There was another conversation, and it just wasn't the moment. So that's when I just took care of some things, and I saw your confirmed our time, and when I saw your the way uh, through, or
The way out is through.
try to find my way out. There we go. Is through, and so I had these two sides of reading that affirmation, and and I really believe in my frequency is my currency, for one, and my thoughts, my words, my actions, as long as I keep those high, then therefore I attract it around me. And so I was going through this, okay, how, just observing, how will I navigate this? Is there something for me to go through here? Because I'd already felt unwell in the past, and I hadn't expressed when I felt unwell, because there was also quite a few moments, and they compiled, because when I had this feeling like there was something not in alignment, I stayed, and then I stayed out of communication, and only little bits and pieces, also wanting to be mindful. I was in someone else's space, even though all space is everybody's space. There was these, like, so all these things were coming up, and family dynamics. And what I had created was, just under a week ago, I asked Mother Earth, I offered a bundle from the advice from a wonderful medicine man, to offer Mother Earth, like, where is my home? Where am I meant to root? Because I wasn't feeling like it was meant to be here. And then I was offered, oh, well, I would like this to be your home base. And I was offered a space. And so it comes with family dynamics and different beings in different places. And I've been walking this, I'm a peacekeeper. So, how to be the example, yet at the same time wanting my own space, yet also appreciating and flowing with what the universe provides me, and experiencing all that life has to offer. But with the full moon recently, I've, like, this was in this time of being in this space, and it was like I had this big deep dive of just feeling like a mishmash of no bueno. It was like, whoa. And I
Mm.
felt these layers come off, and I had a really good healing with this heart healing with this medicine person online. And so I just felt my heart just come back into equilibrium and have that extra support and tribe. And I was reminded to really reach out to my tribe. So part of me went, oh, am I supposed to make this work, or just, like, and so what I'm hearing in this moment is um, to to communicate my discomforts, from my own accountability, of these are ways that I've just felt uncomfortable. And even when words are spoken, welcome home, or this is your home, it doesn't feel like it for me.
It's not
Um,
resonating. You know how the vibration resonates? It's not resonating with your frequency and vibration.
yes. And so there's a part of me that has, like, a theme over the last 48 hours, even, was like, okay, well, there's moments when something doesn't resonate, but then I also don't provide my vibration, like, with words. So I extracted myself from a different situation where I was just observing people being in themselves, and there was a dissonance from how they were interacting with their environment that they were new to. And in the moment, I didn't say anything. I just went, this doesn't, and then we had a conversation 2 days later. And, but at the same time, for me, I'm seeing this like when something doesn't resonate, am I in an old pattern by
Uh,
staying where I don't feel well and feeling like I'm supposed to make the difference, be the difference, provide something new because that's what it
oh,
has been a lot of for me. I've been in flow and spirit puts different people and things in front of me, and when I'm honoring my self-care and balance. Like I had a night to myself, not last night, the night before, and I woke up and I had water and coffee, cleared my system, fruits, and I felt
oh,
like my high self again. Yeah. And just,
you cleansed all the crap
yes,
out.
yes. And so now I'm clear that spirit has had me return here because there's something that I'm meant to provide by my being, not just, well, I don't like that and leave. So that's why there's this, okay, so I'm clearing out, like, this is what's showing up in my space, but it's not necessarily that this person or certain people can't be that. Maybe I'm just not providing the space for them
Okay.
to
Can I
resonate
say
there.
something?
Please, yes.
I just had a conversation with someone about this before
Okay.
we came on.
Okay.
And we were talking about, okay, so there's two things that come, oh, actually three that come up for me. Is one is self caring for yourself is different than self-care, okay? And I have to reiterate this to you because caring for yourself is giving a shit about yourself more than anyone or anything. And so from that place, when you honor and care for yourself that way, you have more of an abundance to be able to do the caring for others. But if you're not doing it for yourself first in that huge way of giving a shit about you before anyone or anything, you will miss the mark of receiving the abundance of that. Do you understand that? Something is hitting you right now. It looks like you're going to cry.
um
That's a hard
what
one for you, isn't it? Because you believe that you have to provide all the time. And this is what her and I talked about. There has to be some reciprocity in order to be met where you are. If people are not meeting you where you are, it's almost like a vampiric experience where they're sucking the lifeblood out of you because you're showing up to provide and they're not capable of meeting you where you are. So they siphon off of you, which makes you ill and sick and tired. So
See, yes, I completely understand what you're
I
saying.
know you do. It's hitting you.
Well, and here's um in the Tibetan practice of Tonglen, so there's like several different teachings and amalgamations that medicine I carry in medicine bundle, or just even without that terminology, just things I've learned that I, do my best to integrate and consider in different angles. Um, and uh, um, to take in someone else's suffering and then send love back. But what I'm also hearing is like when I'm not doing the things that I need to care for myself, um,
You can't meet them with abundance because you're not
no,
providing it for yourself, right? It has to be you first. It's like if you can envision the mom on the plane, they always tell her if she has a baby, to put the oxygen mask on her first.
You know, it's so funny because I had such a internal uproar about this. I can't remember if I made a video and commented also on some kind of a feed, but for me, I felt like that programming was off because there's, as much as I understand that reasoning, you can't help others unless you yourself, um, at the same time, I went, well, I've lived a longer life than the child. I would put it on the child first.
Look at how
And
you, but that
I'm
isn't,
like, that's the programming. You just think of yourself first. I was just like, no.
you know what? It's the opposite. The
Oh,
programming is that we must look outside of ourselves and feed others before we feed ourselves. That is the programming. That is the programming, that others matter more than we matter to ourselves. That is a fucking program.
that's just like, oh, if you cared about me, then you would do this, whether it's put a mask on your face or whatever the
Until
reasoning
we,
is.
Quisha, until we feed ourselves, and first, we are going to go hungry and we are going to be siphoned by other people. We can't be present if we're not fully aligned within ourselves, right? The alignment, with the resonance you're talking about, that it's not aligning with you.
Mm-hmm.
You're a tuning fork. Think of yourself as a tuning fork. You're looking for where it matches and resonates with you. It might not even resonate what I'm saying. You're a tuning fork. Remember that. And you're looking for where you align and tune to align inside with all of your chakras, if you want to put it that way, or your highest self. Um,
Yeah.
that's really what, and the third thing, so those two things, the third one is, asking. A lot of people forget to ask, right? Like to actually ask source, ask universe, for my highest good, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do in this moment? And be
Mm-hmm.
quiet enough to hear or experience what that is. But
Yes.
asking is really important. And because in the asking, you're also putting out your intentions, right? So that's the
Yes.
third piece. In the confusion, because that's what I'm hearing, confusion and self-doubt, right? So how does somebody get clarity? Confusion and self-doubt can't live with clarity. So ask and thou shalt receive. Isn't that the deal?
Yes.
maybe you're not
Ask and
liking
listen.
maybe you're not liking what is being transmitted. Maybe the answer is there, but you're not liking what the transmission is. Like, lot to think about, huh?
Can you say more about that?
Which, the last part?
Yeah. Not liking, but it's the transmission is there. Can
So
you?
when we ask the universe, it may not always transmit what feels good.
Right.
So could it be possible that there is a transmission, i.e., an answer, but it doesn't feel good? It's uncomfortable. And so that's what creates the self doubt and lack of clarity, because feeling it's not feeling good, it's feeling uncomfortable. But maybe that's the process. Even in discomfort, there's plenty of opportunity, right?
Yes. So,
So,
yes,
yeah, go for it.
to be uncomfortable. definitely lots of growth. And I see for me where it's been is in communication, especially in family dynamics, just communication, period, with people and in the moment. And a big, um, one of my big challenges before I returned to Costa Rica, the past 2 years traveling, I had a belief in um, the discovery of love with a particular being and holding the memory and our beings, spirits in a bubble of love, regardless of what came up, and discovering my own, my own alignment of forgetting and remembering and standing and, wavering and standing. And so coming back here to the source of where it began, I've been met with challenges of other beings presenting things from the past where I'm in a new vibration now and I'm in a new light. And I've been the one thus far to present a new way of considering for people, simply bringing it to the attention of Ida, what you just said about this person, whether someone else was talking about you, I would do the same thing and request that, I believe that we really either bless someone's spirit or we're not blessing their spirit. We're either creating love, casting a spell of love, or we're not. And so if there's something incomplete for you, I really request that you get that complete with them, or just be conscious of not causing further harm to them and holding them in a box from the past. So that's something that I've come into, and it's like I've had situation after situation at different times come and present themselves to me for me to also stand in my power and be that being of light, the light warrior, and go, hang on, let's, ascend beyond this point and transmute whatever that is. Um, Sometimes I just feel a little bit tired of being the one to provide that, especially not having, see, I was just about to say not having a base when technically there is a physical base, and there's been a lot of um, discomfort for, yeah.
Can I
Um,
say, is it discomfort or resistance?
um, that's a good question.
Do you know
I
what?
feel like it's both.
Yeah, there's tons of pressure that you were putting on yourself
Yes,
to create this thing, right?
yes,
And this is exactly what I was talking about with this other person, because she's a creator too, in a space where, and so she sees, like you, this creation as part of the, like, her offering to the collective, right? She's creating. And so, but the responsibility she's putting on herself is to not be boundary, to protect herself when all this shit is coming at her, like not feeling like she has a right to have a boundaried self because of this responsibility of like creating for the collective. And I said to her, well, you're not going to be any good for the collective if you don't start boundarying and taking care of yourself. Because that's what boundaries are, right? They're not walls, they're actually acknowledging that we have needs and then taking care of our own needs instead of expecting it to magically be taken care of by something or someone other than us.
I've never had anyone explain boundaries that way.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I had it as it's a yes, I'm a yes or no to that, not as a what is my need. It didn't connect in that
yes,
way.
yes. That's
And
what
I
bound.
did expect it to just like, like you said, just
No, that's part
manifest.
of the work, Quisha. That's part of the work. This is
Okay.
part of the work for the collective, right?
Okay.
It's also modeling to the collective that we are responsible for taking care of our own needs, and that there an expectation for others to do that is not only detrimental to
Mm.
ourselves, but not, I hate the word realistic, but I don't know what else to say. Like, really, no one is going to come down and save us or rescue us from whatever and provide, there is that thing of the universe will provide. And I think that could be spiritual bypassing in some ways, because
Mm.
it sort of says we're not responsible for taking care of ourselves because this universe is going to provide. But from what I understand, the universe provides to people who meet the universe where it's at. It's met. It's met. Like I'm saying, in the reciprocity, maybe you're not having the expectation that people meet you where you're at. It's okay to ask people to meet you where you're at. And if they're not there, then you can lovingly say, I cannot, if this is not in alignment with what I need right now, I lovingly release you, but I need to be met right now where I am.
Hmm.
This
I
is what
like
her and
that.
I discussed. Yeah. Because
And
yeah, sorry.
it,
Go
it
ahead.
just it just reminds me of Abraham Hicks, a trust your impulses um piece that I've been listening to like
I
on
like
repeat. And
Abraham. Yeah.
there's a part where she says, when you come up against those people or those situations where it's just not, just say to them, I so want to love you right now, and you're making it so difficult. Could you just, I really do love you. Loving you is what I do, but could you just go away for a little while so I can remember how much I love you?
That's
Something
so
like
cute.
really, yeah.
But I would even say being next to you right now is reminding me that I need to love myself first. And
I
I
like that.
I need to take space to love myself right now. And when
That's there's a scarcity. Right when you said that, I realized there's this, as much as I know and I trust I'll be provided for, there's the doubt part. Yeah, that's like, well, if this is supposed to be the base, then where am I going? And if I'm supposed to take it slow, like, am I just now walking away or running from what I'm supposed to be working on? Or like, where's that balance and where am I going? Like, you know?
I want to say to you, the mantra is I trust myself.
I trust myself. I trust myself. I trust myself.
Yes. I trust myself that no matter what comes in, this is hitting you again. I can see it resonating, that part. That maybe, was there a lack of saying that to yourself?
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I've said it with doubt, and I know it from my time in Africa. That's when I really learned like there's no white horse and some night
Exactly.
coming. And I literally talked to my inner Quisha, and I was like, okay, there's no one coming. I got you. Here we go. Giddy up. We're in Africa. This spiritual stuff is intense. We're good. We have everything we need. That's why we're here. So let's do our best.
Oh, that's a
And
good
I've
point
got
you
you.
just said. That's a really good point. You said we have everything we need. And
Hmm.
so maybe this is where it's not happening right now. You don't feel like you have everything you need.
See this. I feel like I have everything I need, and I'm like, what the frick do I do with all of it, Ida? I feel like I literally have all the tools in my toolkit. Not all. I mean, I have many with room to also improve and expand further knowledge, you know, to increase my ability to be able to assist. And so I take in little different teachings. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, in the family dynamic, for example, there's a grandmother, there's a mother, there's a child. And I feel like, wow, I can, you know, teach so many different things to the child. I can provide, there's homeschooling, like there's, and it's like, and I feel just the same way I did when I came down to Costa Rica with djembe, two drums, guitar, suitcase of like medicine bundle of, you know, specific
Wow.
items. And then I left it all in the middle of the road, and like I was just like, spirit, if I'm meant to have that. I felt so overwhelmed. Like every book that I touched, all the information of the 2 years of journals of, I just felt so overwhelmed with like, what the heck do I do with all this? Like I felt spirit had fast tracked me so much, but yet that I didn't have that equilibrium, that it was like, uh,
Wow.
at the time, you know. And so since then, I feel a lot more grounded. The medicine man, Jamie Alvarez, wonderful, reminded me, you know, as much as all the other interdimensional things you're doing on other realms and all of those things, as beautiful and great as that is, and thank you for that work, our job is to be here and grounded. So, like, what do you need to be grounded and rooted? And,
Exactly. We're
you
going back.
know,
So you said to me right now,
yeah.
I have all these tools in my toolkit, and so I have everything I need, but there's something that's missing in terms of understanding maybe what it is that you need. Maybe it's more than just maybe it's more than just the tools in the toolkit. Maybe there's something fundamentally right now in this grounded 3D place that you need that is not being met right now.
I feel like, right as you started that thread, what was coming for me was intimacy, companionship, and a big part of my hovering and internal has been, um, a part of my process has been to release the attachment to when that partner or person shows up, because there's,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is like, well, okay, I'm supposed to let go of the past and still know this truth and stand by that this is who and what my heart desires. And then there's another person that's in the field offering love. And I'm like, no, you know, and also having no's towards what I don't want. But then the doubt is there of like, well, is that because I'm not letting go of the past? And that other
Why,
person,
when
you
you
know,
say no, why, when you say no, is that not enough? Why are you going into all the dialogue that is creating the self doubt when it sounds like you know inside of you that that's a no over there? That's enough. Why are you going into all the machinations? That's what's creating the self doubt. Your inner knowing knows that that's a no. So, you know what I think it may be, and tell me if I'm wrong. I think it may be that you want it very badly, though, the intimacy, the connection, that when it's presented to you and your inner knowing says no, it's like, well, wait a minute, do I really want to turn that away? Because I do have some needs for that and it's being presented to me.
yes.
So I think you need to trust the inner knowing that says no. It might meet some of these little bitty needs that you have, but
But
do in
it's
the
not it.
long term, it's a no. And what happens is when you don't listen to that no for yourself and
Hmm.
you say, okay, maybe there's a little bit, and you explore and you try, you start to get entangled in something that you know is a no, and it ends up setting you back. It ends up setting you back because now you have to untangle from the exploration of something you knew was a no.
Yes, you just hit the nail on the head. Let me just plug in this phone. One moment here.
My dear, I've seen this path many times because there,
The entanglement, that's like, gosh, sometimes I feel like, what the heck? Even just in the last 48 hours, like I said, there's like choices and things, and I'm like, what the heck did I just create? And then I go, oh man, I'm responsible for creating that. And then there's this like circular thing of, well, I didn't, and well, I should have, or
No, no, no. Tune
hang
in,
on,
tune in.
my
All
my
those,
uh, my
all
attention
those
is
machinations in your
okay.
head are detracting you from your inner knowing.
Okay. Okay, I'm in one spot again.
Okay. So did you hear that?
I
All
heard
those,
every.
yeah, yeah. So it's a pattern. This is another pattern, and it exists within many people, right?
Mhm.
But it's a pattern. It's just like a programming. It's the same kind of thing, but on a different level, right? That we settle for the little bits, right? Because of needs unmet. And then we dive in because it meets the little bits, but then we become entangled, and we know, our inner knowing knew in the long run that's not good for us. Now we have to detangle, which distracts from the inner knowing that you knew in the first place.
Right. That's exactly, in short, the same advice I gave to a sister 2 nights ago. Because when she
Wow.
brought something up about a medicine she was offered, one of the first things she said was there was like there was something off. Her intuition's like something. And then the more she considered, the more over time, and then she opened up, and then she even used the word like, well, then they kind of like convinced me, or I can't remember if she used convinced, but there was that similar theme of like, well, because they said this, now I'm considering it. But I could still hear that, and all spirit, what came through was remember your inner knowing and your intuition off the bat, period. Because we do know. So this is the thing though, when I know, like, what is it that I know, and what is it that I need to communicate? And I feel like out of this conversation with you, like you said, that reminder of, oh, even just saying this, I'm going to thank you for reminding me that I need to care for myself, and I'm in a different place. Like I can either request that they meet me on this place, and can we hold this vibration together and cancel out those old ways and paradigms? And if you're not willing, then I need to remove myself. That's not something that I've said in real time yet.
Cool. And you
Oh,
know what? This is so beautiful because this is the synchronicity of how it works. So you have the conversation with the sister a couple of days ago in preparation for this conversation now.
so that
It's
I can
almost
hear it
like
too.
it's almost like I'm here to help you hear yourself that you
Yes,
spoke about 2 days ago.
yes,
That's the inner knowing and the synchronicity, right?
yes.
Beautiful. So can we go back a bit because there's something I got too. When you said you have the needs, and this is a pattern too, when you have the needs for intimacy and connecting on this spiritual kind of way with another person, a partner, you use the word partner.
Hmm.
I've I see this as a pattern too. A lot of people are in this, right? Where some they have all these things in their lives, but it feels like there's a longing or like a missing of this thing, right? And what I've often said is perhaps, and I don't know if this is true, perhaps it starts with a disconnection within yourself of providing yourself the kind of intimacy. And when a person is fully connected with themselves, I think they have that intimacy with themselves, right? It's when it's disconnected, they look for it outside of themselves. So,
Yes.
for example, the disconnection maybe have been the reminding that we just did, that the conversation that you had with your sister, and now you're connecting it back to you. that creates an intimacy with yourself and removes you out of self-doubt and into the clarity and alignment for that intimacy to happen with you, with you.
Um, so what's here for me in this moment is I know the inner peace and the balance that I was hearing as you were speaking, and that level of intimacy with self, and that I am pleasure, I create my own pleasure, and I know I don't need to source outside of myself. And it's okay that those are things that I've already um, requested, and I know are mine to enjoy however, whenever they arrive. Yeah. And um, at the same time, I also have been practicing honoring the simplicity of my only job is to be, like, just be. Don't try to subject myself to what I consider the programming of, well, I need to produce, I need to create some course, I need to,
Oh,
go into my
yes.
toolkit and do all of these backflips and somersaults and work with all these different people. And I feel like that's where there's also, I've been part of the full moon, the energy. It was like, um, within the last month, I had this very strong, it came out of me verbally, and I went, wow, I just remembered. I'm like, I always just wanted to sing. And I'm like, what am I doing with my time? Like, am I doing this medicine woman, mystical shaman? Like, am I going and I'm gonna go take a course and like dive more into that, or that's just a part of it and it's gonna come out through music. So I started doing my vocal practices again and just doing like Abraham Hicks said, when you find what you really love and that's feeling good, she said, milk it, just like keep doing more of that, and
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
what I was doing. But then Source brought me back here because I know there's a communication to have, and however it will be received, and whatever will be. But it's that reminder of like where that doubt sits in. And then I have this experience internally of my spirit feeling split between two, if not more worlds, but usually two, where it's like, no, like when I was traveling, constantly different people's houses, different people's different scenarios, and having to stay as grounded and within myself. My reminder was my full-time job is to be myself. I'm
Yes.
like, just keep it simple. So same
Yeah.
thing, just said differently, my job is to be, and just remember that and not let, and when I was in Miami in December, in that vortex of energy with North America's produce and
Whoa.
results, and it was so, I definitely had a different challenge and maintaining equilibrium, and like not like, oh well, no, I don't want to just create another Instagram account and do it that way because I'm meant to pave a path. But then part of me would sometimes trail and go, well, maybe I should, make an exception, or maybe I've just got to, and maybe maybe I should just, and then it was like, oh, no, 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 like, no, no, we're not doing that, and it was like this merry-go-round of like, man, I got to get off this ride. Like we're going in circles.
So I want to say to yourself,
Yes.
or to myself, maybe when I'm I
To
want to say to
ourselves, to the
myself,
collective consciousness.
yeah, the safest place I know is within me.
Hmm.
The safest place I know is in here. So when
Yeah.
all that shit is going on around here,
Hmm.
I remind myself the safety I am, the safest place in here. So I
Right.
don't have to attach or connect to all of that. I just have to go back to the safety I know within myself.
this is this is that um same theme for me of when people go, "Where do you live? Where's your home?" And I say, "I live in my heart. My heart is my home." And
Yes.
literally, this backpack of
Believe it. Believe. Yeah, yo. It's not just something for me that I say, it's a remembering and a recognition for me that I don't have to attach to anything. I am safe. I am all that I need. Even in those moments, like you talked about, where there's that longing for another person, the intimate partner person,
Mm,
I even say to myself when they come in or when I allow them in, I even say to myself, the safest place I know is here. So when anything goes haywire with them, because I'm permitting their energy, I'm permitting everything,
mm-hmm,
I still come back to myself when I get all discombobulated in my head, discombobulated. I still come back to myself and I say, it's never about the other, right? It's about me. So I'm coming back to me where I know I'm safe. All this crap I create is not safety for me. The
mm-hmm.
safety is here. I don't
Right.
know. Anyway, so that's kind
Well,
of what I'm hearing. Yeah.
yes, and like you also just said, like what you create, because whatever's showing up outside is also what we're calling in and what also we're creating. And another thing is, as you were talking about coming back into yourself, it reminded me of a moment when it was here in Costa Rica. I met someone who knew a driver as a good friend of his, and they gave me a tour in this completely new area that I'd never been to yet. And one of them asked me, he's like, "Well, aren't you worried we're gonna like, we could like drive off somewhere and like do harm to you or something like that?" And the answer came through right away. And I said, "Well, no, because that would be on you. If you caused any kind of harm to me, that's for you to deal with. And no matter what happens to my physical being, I know my spirit is free and I'm at peace. So it doesn't." And in Africa, I'd had that realization that and I feel like this is meant for you to hear and us to hear, because there might be a reprogramming, because I had said it doesn't matter what happens to my body, and send, like, in that sense of, it really doesn't matter what happens physically, because I can make it through whatever, as long as that means other people don't have to suffer. Like whatever I need to go through for the collective, whatever work, just send it through me. And so it's coming up as like do I want to revise that? Because I know the power of my words. Like, as much as I understand that conceptually, is there another way to word that in a healthier, also self-care manner, instead of this? It sounds kind of more like a martyr kind. Do
Or
you
that
pick
you're
up?
welcoming harm to your body when you say that, right? You
Yes,
don't you don't want
from
to
like some
welcome harm.
hero blah blah.
So maybe there is a relanguaging. What
Mm-hmm,
I think this goes back to for me is
mm-hmm.
that this body is finite. So this is what I hear you saying. This
Okay,
body is finite,
this body's finite.
but the inner being in there is infinite,
Mm,
right?
yes,
So also maybe what happens to this body is finite. So if it's attacked or harmed or whatever, because it's a finite uh, meat suit,
vessel.
let's say,
Yeah.
maybe what happens to it is also finite and not infinite. It's the being inside that gets to decide, right? I get to choose, I get to decide. The infinite
Yes.
being in me gets to decide whether or not I'm going to attach what happens to the finite. I don't have to attach to what happens to the finite, which is this container. I have a choice.
Yes.
Maybe that's a better relanguaging.
The
Maybe it's
choice.
something like saying universe. I accept whatever happens to this finite container as being finite, but my infinite being chooses to remain infinite and not finite. I don't know.
I like that. I was just mouthing it and whispering it as you were saying it. I like that. And what also was coming up to share is I had a download of 2 years ago. This information came of who do you want to be, or who are you do believe you're meant to be, want to be 10,000 years from now. And it just
Wow.
took my awareness completely away from any kind of human everyday anything and just went like, and I went, yeah, okay, that's who do I need to be now, period. So it was like this. So I feel like I went on this literally extremely spirit driven fast track. And
Yeah.
with 2020 and everything slowed, when everything slowed down, I was like, ah, I could feel the earth, like after Africa and after a peacekeeping tour across Canada, and just like and then coming into this like, okay, I'm gonna root and I'm gonna ground and I'm gonna like be around other people. And I was, more consistently, or in a community or tribe, and now it's like, okay, now how do I provide, what do I do now? Like with all of this, like different worlds and all these different things, and remembering my Atlantean, like bits and pieces of Atlantis and the flood and different things. I'm like, okay, now, right, all I need to do is be. Like,
Yeah.
huh?
You know what? It's so funny because I also had this conversation with the same person. So, being creators, right?
Sometimes, Ida, I just have to say that sometimes I'm like, wait, what am I creating? Because when I was sitting in that environment where where these people were vibrating something in dissonance to the environment, a part of me just wanted to be like simple Quisha, like an old version, or just not have to provide some insight or like
Okay,
do
cool,
something,
cool. I got
like
that.
I just wanted to hang out with the girls. And but at the same time I was like, yeah, but this kind of hangout doesn't feel good. I felt like I literally was caught like in two different worlds, like uh,
Yeah,
uh, and so I just removed that.
yeah.
That came up again. I interrupted you, pardon. I just
No, I went to interrupt you. So, I no, this is important because this is how we started. So, we've come full circle, right?
okay.
So, the interesting thing about that is you said a part of me wanted to do something simple and with ease. So,
Yes.
how can you honor that part when that part shows up? All you have to do is honor that part when it shows up. Then the other part comes in and says, no, I can't be here because. So then you honor that part. You've got the insight and you're watching all these parts of you come forward. So it's about integrating them. And integrating them is responding to what they need. You responding to what each of those parts needs.
And just flowing with it as it is, without
Yes.
doubt, and
Yes.
without doubt, essentially.
It's just
Like,
saying,
okay,
oh, this part of me wants to hang out and be with the gals, you know? So how can I honor that part just in that moment that it shows up, that it shows its face?
right,
So maybe I sit for 5 minutes and then the next part comes and it says, ooh, this feels yucky and da 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 da. So then you say to that part, okay, I'm going to honor you by removing myself and not making yourself wrong for any of your responses to the needs of those parts. Not making yourself wrong is the big deal because that's where all the intellectual machinations come. We make
right.
ourselves wrong for what's showing up in the moments. and they're not wrong. They just need to be integrated and looked after. Like their needs that are showing up. That's what they are.
Yes, and what I'm hearing in this, that through this call, it's come back again, that you're helping me remember, is where I can stand in empowerment, as opposed to, it's not so much just, oh, I doubted myself or whatever the shift was and the new truth was. It's the not communicating it, and just allowing other people to be in the know of, like, oh, I need to honor myself right now, and remove
Yeah.
myself, or have some, like, but then also, like, I don't have to, what am I creating? I can be conscientious of how I create and continually get better at it. If I don't get it, or what am I creating? There's some kind of a politeness, or this, like,
Mhm.
old pattern of,
Mhm.
like, it's not okay for me to just say, like, someone, I'm hearing their voice, they had said, you're just not they said something about, like, I can tell other people, like, if they can understand the language, like, sometimes I'll just tell them, you're not very vibrating high enough for me, like, I need you to meet me up here. But there was something for my spirit that was like, well, how can we word, like, I really care about the words so much that sometimes I
Yeah.
just say
Yeah.
nothing. And
How about just saying, you know what, in this moment, this doesn't work for me. And so I'm just going to go and take care of what works for me. Like, it's not wrong to honor yourself first. I think that's the biggest programming. It's that somehow it's seen that if we honor ourselves first and take care of ourselves first, it's selfish, self centered, it's service to self, it's bad. None of it is. That's a programming.
it's so great that you say that, because this being that I have such an affinity for, I've not met someone so strong, to the point, like, they know themselves and they honor themselves, like, they don't they don't have to, they know they don't need to explain, they don't owe anyone, and if they need to do whatever they need to do, they do it, period. And so, as this moment just now, in our just previous interaction, what was coming up was a moment when, um I saw them, and I had that elation of, wow, this person's in my presence, and it was just like, I was so, wow, that, and I didn't, and what I did was interacted a bit, and then some part of me, another part of me went, I want to go, and I hadn't been to the ocean. And instead of communicating them, hey, like, I'd like to spend more, I didn't say anything to them. I just walked away a bit, and then I stopped. And without turning around to check on them, I continued walking, because I was like, I want to go thank the ocean. I was thanking the trees, thanking I was in my
Oh,
own world.
yeah.
And then, and I, in my perception, without checking in, I had this belief that they were going to be around still. So I went to the ocean, said my thank you. I came back and they were gone. And then I haven't seen them since. And it was this, like, but in that moment I was like, what? Are they coming back? But, and they're that kind of person that just, so I also, it was a mirror, because I also didn't communicate to say, like, hey, this is what I would like. I would like to have a conversation or further. I'm just going to go right there and I'll be right back, which is,
Yeah.
so, and then it was like mirrored the same thing of, like, the same, well, okay, well, and I don't know their train of thought, of what happened, but what was in my
They didn't
mirroring,
know
I was
yours
like,
either.
yes,
So they could have perceived you going along like that as not caring or wanting to be with them.
yes,
But because nothing was communicated, it was like, you know, you can always go back and communicate that if you can find
yes.
them, right? Like it's not lost.
Oh, yes. I hear you.
So
I sent a community.
what I want to say, because I'm looking at our time and I've got to go. It's already 2. Can you believe we talked for an hour? Okay, so listen for a sec. What I wanted
Yes.
to say to you is thank you so much for showing up the way that you did, because you know what it gave me is it gave me the opportunity to get clear with myself.
Mm.
It called for me, your presence called for me to get clear with me, to transmit that clarity there. And I was feeling that all the way through. I thought to myself, I keep hearing Quisha say, thanks for that, thanks for that. And I was like, well, wait a minute. You know what? I'm really thankful too, because I am so clear right now. And it's because you've given me the opportunity to be that way and to transmit it. So thank you, honey. Thank you. Yeah. You're so lovable. I love you.
I receive and I accept and I thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Remember, the safest place you know or I know is here. That's all that really matters, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, any parting words, my dear?
Oh. Hmm. Yes. I would like to let this car pass. um, I want to thank you and all of the beings in your life that contributed to all of who and what you are, and all of your ancestry and all of the work that they did and that you have done and you are doing to provide friendship, sisterhood, motherhood, mirrorhood, reflectionhood, funhood, friendlyhood,
Yeah, the
and
hoods.
the hoods, yes, and just for the vast space of love that you resonate at, and being so understanding of um, where I am, even in our past interactions, and just holding such a space of acceptance and kindness. And I really appreciate it. Yeah, I was so excited for our call,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
could
me
tell I was
too.
still harboring that, like, oh gosh, last time. And it's like, no, don't hang on to that. Like, and right when you
No,
were like, Kisa, I was like,
I let it go, girl.
oh
I let it go.
yeah,
What I have
it's
to say too,
yes.
as an ending thing, thank you so much for that. I also think gentleness is something that came up for me
Mm,
too, and kindness. Like for you and me, when all those machinations start, I kind of feel that they're mean, and they're programs. They're
mm-hmm,
mean.
mm-hmm.
It's all the outside force shit that came inside that isn't really who we are, right? And
Yes,
it's meanness. And
yes,
so I just want to say, be kind, and I'm saying this for me too. Be kind with yourself, be kind for yourself, and be kind with yourself.
gentle,
Gentle, go gently
gentle.
is what my friend says. So that's what I'm going to say too.
Ah,
Go gently,
gentle. In
go
Wolof,
gently.
in West Africa, Wolof is one of the languages in several of the countries, and they say nanka nanka. So when I would be in scenarios where there was some kind of a heavier energy or aggressive energy, I would just sing in their language. I'd just put it out into the space. Nanka nanka Giliala, and they just, whatever was going on would just pause, and I could feel them hearing the resonance. Yeah, so gently, gently. And on another note that's coming through to share is Um, there's a teaching of a man who asks a pastor, priest, person to pray for their ailing wife. And as the person starts to pray, they pray, may all beings be healthy, may all beings be peaceful. And this man goes, well, hang on, like in all your praying, like you didn't say my wife's name. And he says, oh, well, uh, in my practice of prayer, we are only when when we pray for the whole can the individual benefit. And he said, okay, well, fine, pray your way, but can you exclude this neighbor or that neighbor? And then the last piece was, and this is what I'm adjusting the words here now. This is what we have the opportunity to transmute as a collective, instead of like that exclusion and wanting to hold anyone or anything down and suppressed in that box of, well, not them because whatever, to let that go and share in the wholeness. Yeah.
We won't exclude anybody. In our prayer, we will
Em-
not exclude anybody.
or inclusion of all. Okay, thank you so much again for this moment.
Love you.
Blessings to all. Love you too.
Take care, honey.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Ciao for now.
Ciao for now.